Well, I am finally home. And that was just about as heartbreaking a race as you could watch. Obviously, Gandalf did what he could. I tried to tell Dougie about the Colt, but I have to be honest with him. He can make breaks. If you leave with him, he likely will. I'd like to get some confidence in the Colt, and I said I don't think speed is a problem. I don't think speed is a problem with Gandalf. He seems to have enough and is more than willing to use it. Just don't put him in a position to make a break, because he will. And I think Dougie knew that, and he obviously was very safe with him in the second and third quarter, and then he scooted home as good as he could. I mean, the horse isn't a rocket ship. He come the last quarter in 27 seconds flat, a mile and 55. You can't ask for much more than that from Gandalf the Black. If you would have asked any of us, me especially, back in February, if Gandalf the Black, how long will it be before he paces in 55? My answer probably would be forever. So I'm not disappointed with him, and I try my hardest not to be disappointed with the other Colts. I had a very candid thread with James in messaging, and of course I'm angry, but I'm angry at myself. I let everybody down. I can't do everything, and I really have to prioritize a little bit better. I thought that being there to drive Austral Hanover and Fashion Presidente and Dustin Hanover today, especially given the fact that I had in my hand a plane ticket that said 4:05 flight, that gave me 2.5 hours to get to the airport. A 4:05 flight, which got me back here at that airport right there at 5:06. And even when the first message came through to say that the flight was delayed, I didn't care. I was fine with it. It wasn't until the third message came through that I'm like, wow, I'm going to miss his warm-up. Then the fourth message, I'm going to miss the race. And you know what? I don't think I say it enough. Thank you to Daryl Rideout. I got my truck, so this is what happened. My car, I had to go to the Danny O'Brien. I'll get to exactly what happened today and exactly the friends that I have. Daryl Rideout took me to the Meadows, full well knowing that I was in race 1, 2, and 3, and then he would drive me to the airport and then take our half-ton truck back to Northfield Park. It's going to be fine. Then, when I realized I'm going to miss the race, Daryl said, I'll drive you to Buffalo. He said, I don't have my passport, I can't drive you across the border, but if you get somebody to come to Buffalo and get you, it'll be fine. So I'm thinking, I get off the track at 1:35. If we go directly there, I can make the race for sure and maybe make the warm-up. So we leave. No hesitation. Leave right after the race to go to Ontario. I leave a couple of messages with a couple of friends. One guy didn't have his passport and was out of town, so couldn't. And the other gentleman wasn't anywhere near where he could do it. I've all but lost hope. I didn't want to ask my wife to do it because she would. That's why. Call my buddy Danny O'Brien. No hesitation. Yep, I'll come and get you. He calls me. I'm in traffic on the QEW. For those of you who know Toronto and the QEW, it's probably the worst highway on planet Earth. More than likely the solar system. Not familiar with the roads on Mars, but there's no way that there is a more congested highway on planet Earth for sure than the QEW. So he calls me, he said, Anthony, so this is what we're doing the whole way. I'm trying to get to a place where I can meet Danny O'Brien at the same time as Danny O'Brien getting there. First it was the Peace Bridge, then it was another. Then we said, go to the Rainbow Bridge. That way he can get into Niagara Falls. Okay, I can get across. I literally jump out of the truck. I run across the bridge. I still almost have time. And I look at this traffic. I can't make it. It's impossible. And all this is under the presumption that the judges would let me drive if I got there at like 10 to 7, which I know they would. But now 10 to 7 turned into 5 to 7. 5 to 7 turned into 5 after 7. Now I can't drive. So who's going to drive them? I called Dougie. Can you drive brace for landing? Just feed him into the gate, try to go easy with him. Okay. He's a hard horse to drive in that manner because you can tell how good he is when you're sitting on him, how fast he is. And it just seemed to me that Dougie maybe get up to the gate a little early with him, but it's easier said than done. This isn't a video game where you just slow them down and start them up. These are horses. And sometimes when you start to come up into position, especially a horse that's as competitive as him, they want to get right out of there and they get a little ornery. You lost him. Now at that moment, I feel like the biggest piece of shit on earth, because I could have came back to Ontario, been here for this horse, and left Aaron Merriman or somebody else to drive Austral Hanover and Fashion Presidente. I don't believe I should need to be in Ontario. We have the best 2 drivers in Canada driving our horses, and they're supposed to be our 2 best horses. It's not their fault. I mean, they're still babies, and that's the frustrating part. We get spoiled. Una Madonna runs off the screen. We people calling to buy her. Right? Our horses are winning in Ohio. They're winning in Pennsylvania. And our 2 best horses, or supposedly our 2 best horses, are struggling here in Ontario. 6 starts, 4 breaks. And you could see Carter Michael Deal. The horse just looked like he was trying to come right through his harness. He was going to trot a half in 55 seconds with James pulling on his face the whole way down the lane today. James said, it looked like he said he's not perfect. Of course he's not perfect. Second lifetime start, and he's a big horse. He felt like he shied away from something. What I saw on the video was he touched himself. In fact, I'll go as far as to say I know exactly where he touched himself. He touched his knee. Just a bit, but since he never touched his knee before, it spooked him. And what happens when you have horses that do that? So, what happens when you have horses that do that is, if you have a horse that hits a knee boot, their next stride for a trotter, you touch that knee, and it draws them in a little bit. Their next stride, usually they end up in their hind shin, right? Up in their jack. He wears boots, but still, that compounds. Go back and watch the sequence of events that took place before this horse makes a break. And I'm trying to tell James this. Now, James is driving horses. He doesn't have time to go back and watch the video. And this happens so quickly, even when you're sitting behind the horse. Sometimes you don't... What happens doesn't appear to be what happened. And you can see it plain as day. Puts a step in. That's where he touched his knee the first time. The subsequent next strides is where he would have touched that jack, up in that jack area. The next one would have been up into that knee. There are 2 marks. I'm trying to tell James this because I'm positive that's what happened. My wife sends me a message. At the exact moment I'm talking to James, she said, there's 2 little marks on the inside of Carter Michael Dio's knee. I said, yeah, it's not shocking. So I told him, I said, go down and look at the horse's knee. There's 2 marks on his knee. And then watch the replay. You can see where it takes place. You can see the horse surprised when he touched his knee the first time because he's never hit his knee in his life. But he only hit his knee because he was trotting so damn fast coming out of the turn. And plus, he doesn't really need hobbles, but he does need hobbles right now. And they do stop him at the end of his gait. That's what helps you keep that gait together, right? But it stops them sometimes at the end of the gate. And when that gait gets shortened up from that hobble, that only draws him up into the knee even more. So it's not that he pounded his knee, but he brushed his knee. Austral Hanover put a mark in his knee last week. If you watch the replay today, we just taped his knees up, not a big deal. But when you are a horse as fast and have the torque of Carter Michael Dio, those aren't little picks anymore. So it's not a big deal. We can tape his knees up or put knee boots on him. It's not the end of the world, but I'm 1,000% sure that's what happened tonight. James may not be 1,000% sure. I am. And I can prove it. Just go look at his knee. So he didn't cut his knee bad. He didn't draw any blood. He didn't hurt himself. But it's there. And I was irate after the race. I was angry. I was angry at myself for missing brace for landing. I was just angry with the entire situation of Carter Michael Dio. I told James, I made another video and I didn't post it. I was angry. I told James, I said he's coming with me to Ohio. Well, Anthony, I don't think there's any need to jump to conclusions. I said, or any knee-jerk reactions because you're angry. I said, not at all. I'm responsible for these horses. I went to Kentucky to make sure the Nuna Madonna performed well. She did. I stayed in the meadows because we were racing two horses that had sketchy pasts. And it's not that James just threw caution to the wind and drove he drove him right. He drove the horse perfectly, and I know exactly what happened, and it won't happen again. Not like that, anyway. So I called Tim. I am going to change gears. I don't believe Carter Michael Dio has to qualify. I believe it's a flat line in 45 days for the Pennsylvania sires, regardless of 2 breaks in a row. Now, Tim is checking on that because this is not a time to guess. I will be 1,000% sure by tomorrow at 10 a.m. I believe I'm right. Flat line in 45 days. If that's the case, then fine. Carter Michael Dio can remain here for another week. If he has to qualify, he's going to Ohio. And Brace for Landing, that one hurt a lot. Here's a colt that I think everybody knows how fast he is. Everybody knows he's a very fast colt. He's got to put it all together. But as I said to James, I don't mind taking my time with him, but this appears to be a regression. You can't have babies making break after break after break. Okay, he made a break at the gate for you. Great. Now, if I'm there tonight, I guarantee you he's not up on the gate when they say go. And I'm sure that Dougie didn't mean to be. But, as I said, competitive horses, they get coming into position. And sometimes, Dougie's, you're talking about the 2 best, for the most part, the 2 best drivers in Canada. Sometimes you're better off just to leave them alone and let them settle. And that's what Dougie let him do. Let him float up in a position. He wanted to get out of there, so he went to let him. And he shouldn't have made a break. That's not just on Dougie. The colt should not have made a break. But he did. And it can't happen again. So again, I would say more than likely Brace for Landing is coming to Ohio. And I know for the people, can we not get him down to a New Jersey trainer? The answer to that is absolutely 1,000% no. That is not going to happen. That colt is going to stay under my care until he is 100% ready to go and no one else's. So there's no point sending me any message saying, well, wouldn't it make more sense getting him to the Meadowlands now? Absolutely not. He's not going to the Meadowlands. So don't bother asking. As you can tell, I'm still a little hot. I'm mad at myself for not being here. I'm mad at the horse for making a break when he shouldn't have. I'm trying my hardest not to be mad at James and Dougie because it's not their fault. It's my fault. When these colts make breaks, it's on me. I'm the one responsible. And ultimately, that's what my text to James was. I want to give you all the room in the world, but I can't. Because I have a responsibility to you, to the people watching this video, to the people that own those horses, my partners. I have a responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen. And it won't. So, I'm going to tell you right now, if Carter Michael Dio, in fact, does not have to qualify for his stake race on July the 13th, then he will stay here, but he will be in the Meadows for July the 13th. And Brace for Landing, I'm not worried about Brace for Landing. Not in the least. At all. I think Brace for Landing has a very bright future, and we have to. And I will implore everybody to listen to what I'm about to tell you. He still is physically a little bit immature and a hair behind those other horses. And I will only push him hard when he's ready to be pushed hard. Tonight was a maiden. That's not pushing him hard. That's asking him to do his work. That's an extension of what you've done all year. That isn't working hard. Working hard is going to Kentucky on 24 hours notice and setting the track record in the searing heat. That's working hard. Nuna Madonna was ready to do that. Brace for Landing is not quite there yet. I'm well aware of what's going on. Spitfire Overseas is entered to go on Tuesday. Una Madonna is entered to go on Tuesday also. It's been carried over. If they don't get in, they are coming with me also. I'll race them in the Meadows if they will not let us race them in Ontario. I'm sorry that Mohawk can't fill a maiden. That's not my fault. I'm sorry that 2 of the 7 horses that went behind the gate tonight came from our barn. And 4 would have happily if they would have let us. I'm not going to let our horses be stifled because the racetrack can't fill classes. So I will tell you right now, there's a chance that Carter Michael Dio is leaving soon. Brace for Landing is 100% leaving soon. Spitfire Overseas, Horn Player, these horses are coming with me also. It's almost July, right? Playtime's over. It's time to get to work. And that is exactly what's going to happen. Now, every horse fits a different mold. We're trying to get Spitfire Overseas back on track. I believe after talking with the vet, seeing his qualifier the other day, I still watched it again. I know Dougie's horse won by 8 lengths. He wasn't going to beat me by 8 lengths. He might have beat me. He wasn't going to be by 8 lengths. I can guarantee you that. We're going to train him up tomorrow, and we are going to race him on Tuesday. And if he doesn't get in Tuesday, he will be at the Meadows next week. Of that, I can guarantee you. Now, as much as I feel bad because I wasn't in Ontario tonight, I can't stop scheduling myself as tight as I can. I'm trying to do my best that I can for everybody. And I know that I can't be everywhere, and obviously it cost us tonight, but that doesn't mean I can't try. Next Friday, I'm going to race whoever I have to race in the Meadows, and I have a 5 o'clock flight with the time change that gets to Chicago O'Hare Airport at 5:50 p.m. I've asked the general manager, who just happens to be our partner, to get the horses in the middle of the program if he can. I'll talk to the race secretary, and I will be there to drive GJ's ATM and Rosita's Dream on Friday. And I will return Saturday morning. Now, where I return to, I don't know yet. Anyway, to my partners on Brace for Landing, I apologize. That's on me. My partners on Carter Michael Dio, I think you have a pretty good idea of exactly what James is talking about. One thing is for certain, he is a absolute beast. That horse was going to go a mile in 57. Well, like I said, they went in 59 and he run for 25 lengths or more. And he was that far ahead of them, so you do the math. The horse a killer. James is right in that regard. Is he 100% good right now? No, nobody ever is. He's got a splint that bites him and bothers him. He's a big colt. So we have to be careful. We have to be careful what we do with him, but at the same time, it's time to go. And go he will. So, with that, a little feisty still, a little hot under the collar, but at the same token, I think I expressed myself very clearly. It is July. It's time to go. And we will be going very, very soon. So with that, I will let you guys go. I did have a good day, up until it would have been a great day if Carter Michael Dio and Brace for Landing had raced great. Being stuck in Niagara Falls and when it's 29 degrees out with a good friend of yours, sit down and have a beer with, not really the worst thing in the world. But it is when your horses make breaks and you have to watch it happen in front of you. So, that's over and done with. At some point over the next hour and a half, I too will turn the page, get over it, formulate a plan moving forward, something a little more concrete for tomorrow. But as I talk to you right now, I will make this crystal clear for everybody who's saying, when were they going to be in? When are they going to race? So let me run it down again. If the rule in Pennsylvania, I'm sure somebody will send me an email. Tim is checking in the morning to be 1,000% clear. If the rule is a flat line in 30 to 45 days, so if he can race, and that's a time of entry, his qualifier was on June the 11th. His stake race will be July the 13th. If it's 30 days on the day of draw, Carter Michael Dio does not have to qualify. First off, you have to make sure 2 breaks in a row. I remember before even COVID, we had horses that made multiple breaks, but they had a flat line in 30 days, or it might even be 45, and they were eligible to race for paid money events. So as I drive down the road, I am almost certain he can race on the 13th, regardless of what happens between now and then. If that's the case, you will likely see him race next week. No, he won't race next week. He'll have to qualify, I guess. Or just school. That's a possibility also. So Carter Michael Deal, a little question mark beside him. I'm not going to get in too much of a rush if he doesn't have to qualify. If he has to qualify, he's coming with me immediately, and he will qualify next Thursday at Northfield Park. That's a guarantee. Brace for landing, I'm not in as much of a hurry with. My sights are squarely set on middle of the summer, heading into the fall with brace for landing. Tonight and last week's breaks are frustrating. I will iron the wrinkles out of him, and you'll likely see him show up in a qualifier at Northfield Park, and thereafter we'll make a decision what goes on with him. My sights are still on the Houghton for both of these colts, and I'm upset that they made breaks, but they're both very fast, and they both will show it very, very soon. Well, Carter Michael Dio, I think that's a foregone conclusion. He's shown it quite well already. Spitfire Overseas, if he doesn't get in Tuesday, he is coming to Pennsylvania with me. Horn Player, if she does not get in Tuesday, she is coming to Ohio with me. They will race in Pennsylvania next week, next Friday. So they'll either be in Tuesday at Mohawk, or they will be in Thursday and or Friday, whichever, in Pennsylvania. And that will be that. So, again, we'll talk to you all very soon. Whew. Take care.